let's not get carried away with rhetorical flights of fancy. Did they achieve any of the political goals that they set for themselves?
On one hand, there were two arguments on the Palestinian arena. One of them was we have to pursue armed resistance. The other one was to pursue negotiations as presented by...
I don't agree with either of them.
And now, who do you believe, after what happened, is the stronger argument among the Palestinians?
Nazar, we're not on the same page on this particular issue. I am perfectly cognizant, painfully so, that negotiations, diplomacy, on its own will achieve nothing. That's why I dismissed your comment earlier about Hanan Ashrawi going to the United Nations. The UN is, as it used to be said of parliaments in general, is a talking shop. Nothing is going to happen there. So we can set that aside, no disagreement. I think if we honestly reckon what happened in Gaza, not in terms of feel-goods and not looking strictly in military balance sheets, but looking at what ought to be the final purpose. What was achieved in terms of improving the lives of the people of Gaza?
It's a long battle.
So,
and how can we isolate Gaza from North Lebanon, from South Lebanon, from Syria, from Iran,
Nazar.
Can we isolate them?
This occupation of Gaza has now been going on for 60 or more years. The people since 2007 have had to endure an inhuman, merciless, leaving aside illegal, blockade. Are we going to talk about consigning their fate for another 20 years to that blockade, or 30 or 40? Or are we going to do what a sensible person does? A sensible person, when you try once, it fails. Try twice, it fails. Try 3 times. Yes, they do, in my opinion.
Which are?
Okay. The problem with talking about my alternative is, I'll get to it in a half second, there is this military ethos in the Arab Muslim world such that unless it's guns, rockets, missiles, it's not real resistance. So let me just give you a hypothetical. Speculate. First of all, before I give you the speculative possibility, we have to learn from history. We can't just recite endlessly slogans. How did Protective Edge, Israel's operation, end? Israel is decimating Gaza. Yes, it's true. It held back, even when it entered in the ground invasion, it held back to the border area because of the problem of the tunnels and the casualties. But beyond the border, it was targeting everything in sight, destroyed approximately 160 mosques, 360 factories. It was a horror story. So what happens? Israel targets one UN school shelter. Israel targets a second UN school shelter. Israel targets a third, a fourth, a fifth. At this point, the pressure inside the UN is beginning to reach boiling point. It's Ban Ki-moon, where are you? You comatose US puppet. Where are you? They are targeting UN facilities, UN institutions. Finally, the pressure on Ban Ki-moon becomes unbearable.
Which is financed by US as well,
right.
Europe.
Finally, the pressure on Ban Ki-moon becomes unbearable, and the comatose UN puppet wakes up, and he calls what Israel is doing criminal. Now, after he used the C word, criminal, President Obama is isolated on the world stage. Up until that point, for 4 weeks, All he kept saying each day, he or his spokespersons, was, Israel has the right to defend itself. Now Ban Ki-moon is saying Israel's defense is criminal. So now the pressure comes on Obama. You got to say something because you're looking ridiculous. You're looking absurd on the world's stage. So finally the State Department says the same day, August 3rd, that Israel's acts are disgraceful and appalling. What happens next? Same day, August 3rd, Ban Ki-moon, Barack Obama, the same day, Prime Minister Netanyahu announces ground invasion is over, we're withdrawing. So you look at that.
You think they took that decision only because Ban Ki-moon and Obama?
Not because of Ban Ki-moon, because of Obama.
Because their casualty number.
No.
That day,
because remember,
that day they lost an officer and they lost more soldiers.
On that day they lost 2 civilians because of the. No. Okay, I'm not sure. I can't remember. It may be, but no, that wasn't the reason. Because they had already confined the ground invasion to the border. So the likelihood of significant new casualties was quite small. It was just a free-for-all. It was just destroying everything in sight.
But Obama did not ask them to pull out.
I don't like to engage in undocumented speculation, but I have a pretty good feeling they called up Israel and said, we can't support it anymore. It's becoming politically untenable. When Ban Ki-moon speaks out, you're making us look ridiculous. We're the only ones in the world defending it at this point. We can't do that.
Do you think Ban Ki-moon said that without consultations with Joe?
Yes, I think the pressure became unbearable. As you pointed out in our private conversation, once the head of UNRWA in Jerusalem, Chris Gunness, was all over it went viral on the internet when he broke down sobbing over what was happening. Yes, I think Ban Ki-moon did not consult the U.S. He knew he had to say something or he was in a lot of trouble. The internal pressure can become unbearable. You're the general secretary. Everybody's calling you. Why aren't you saying anything? Did you see that video? Why aren't you doing anything? He has to act. He has to act. There's a limit. There's even a limit to how much a puppet can be a puppet.